Hey, welcome to another Baseline Briefing with Janine Theus of Theus Wealth Advisors. I'm Walter Storholt. All right, Janine, our headline to tackle in today's video: Say goodbye to retirement. A soft saving trend is emerging among young people. Now, this article kind of seems like an excuse just to call young people soft again, perhaps by the you boomers out there. No, I'm just kidding. No, it's an interesting concept. So basically, without reading you the entire article here on the video, we're going to link to it in the description if you want to go check it out. It's a CNBC article. But basically, 3 in 4 of Gen Zers would rather have a better quality of life now than have extra money in their banks. This was a report that Intuit did, and they're calling it a soft saving trend, where we're saving a little bit less for retirement and having more fun on life and experiences and things like that in the current. I suppose this could just boil down to an old, instant gratification debate, perhaps. What's your take on this?
Well, it's the YOLO. You're the YOLO generation, right?
Yeah, YOLO. You only live once. FOMO, fear of missing out. My friends are doing X, Y, and Z. I need to go do that too. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean,
and to be clear, I'm a millennial, not a Gen Z. All right.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
Don't lump me in with Gen Zs out there.
Oh, I know. I keep hearing that. It's well, because when people do that and make those statements, they raise the force field, and they're not willing to take on information because they've already made this decision, because it, in some sense, justifies feelings about what they think is really going on. And the trouble I can see, and I always joke about this with my kids, I have a past so I can see the future. Is you don't know how long you're going to live, and you don't know what it's going to cost you to live 30 years down the road,
right.
40 years down the road. Gen Z is in their 20s, I think. So you're going to work for the next 40 years.
Sure, a long time.
Yeah, it's a long time. And this is a chance to build for that, because guess what? There is life after 60.
Yeah.
and it's going to have a cost to it. So how do you plan for that and still enjoy today? Well, I guess it comes down to what is really important today. How disciplined are you? I get that some people can be saving and doing all the right things and they have an early demise, or something else comes up. There's always whatever the government does that affects you. So there has to be a middle line that you can draw, because you have to save for the future. You have to, because and a lot of these kids, when they start to have kids, will be invested in the future, hopefully.
Yeah.
So that may change some minds a little bit. But, what are the experiences that you just have to have now because your friends are having them or whatever?
Sure.
That you would give up a future life for.
Yeah.
It's really hard to see when you're in your 20s. When we were all in our 20s, we just all knew we had to work because we couldn't rely on anybody else to hand us a 20.
Right.
Or whatever. Everybody had to work. We all started working when we were 14 and 15. Mm-hmm. And that's not a bad thing. You learn a lot when you have to go out and work.
Yeah.
And I think that's the downside of what's happened is, for some people, work is viewed as a bad thing, or it's something that to be endured instead of an opportunity to grow.
Right.
As a person. And I think that's the really hard part is it doesn't mean you should say goodbye to retirement. It does mean that you should be disciplined in, various areas of your life. And that includes saving for the future in some capacity.
I'll push back a little bit here.
Okay, good.
Because, as a millennial, this was the same crap that was talked about us when we were younger. Millennials are terrible. I remember all the memes and videos that would come out from my parents' generation, and I would joke with my mom because she was in HR, and so we would joke all the time. She'd send me these videos of a millennial getting interviewed for a job application and just how bad and how terrible it was. And I think we're doing the same thing, and I'm guilty of it too. I'm turning right back around now and doing the same thing to a Gen Zer. Even half joking, like, don't lump me in with somebody that's in Gen Z. They're terrible. We're not that bad. It's just that same sort of intergenerational play. I think Gen Z will get its act together, just like us millennials did. Millennials are buying houses now, having families, helping drive the economy. I think we're doing all right, even if we're doing it in a different way than the previous generations did it. And I'll push back. I love my parents. They instilled in me hard work, but I also saw them just basically run at 100 miles per hour all the way until they hit retirement, which, congratulations to them, was last week as of the time that we're recording this. So mom and dad, congratulations on reaching retirement. And I love the values that they instilled in me, but I'm doing it in a different way. Like, I'm making sure to have some of that fun along the way. To take a little bit more of that time. I'm not forsaking the future, but I'm saying, okay, I'm doing the math and saying, how much do I really need to save for the future, and can some of that be used to improve my life, my family's life, and my community's life around me in the current? And not saying you got to just sit there. I feel like there's this mentality that our generation, and maybe even more so Gen Z, is pushing back on, of like, run the rat race for 40, 50 years, and then you can go have fun for a couple years before you die. And we're saying, well, we want to have a little bit of that fun while we're able to now, while we're healthy and while our minds are sharp, and while we can then remember all of those good times over the years. So that's a little bit of my stance for Gen Z in this conversation.
Well, see, now that's interesting, because that's kind of what we did compared to what our parents did. I mean,
we're just doing it even more extreme. We're just taking it to another level.
Yeah,
perhaps,
well,
right?
the other thing that helps you guys is technology.
Yeah,
because the technology
do more with less now.
Yeah, there's so much technology now in these last 30 years of development that allows you guys to be able to do that, and to look at. You have for a lot of people, you have a bigger view than a lot of people did 30, 40 years ago. Yeah. In terms of what's out there. One of the things that I think is very cool is a lot of people being entrepreneurial.
Yeah.
More so than ever
side
before.
Hustles.
Yeah.
Side hustles are turning into full-time jobs for people now.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
maybe we'll have more entrepreneurs and small business owners in these next generations because of that spirit. And wouldn't that be something that baby boomers and previous generations would be proud of, right?
I think that would be amazing, actually. Because a lot of people did. I mean, back in the day, with my parents, you had the company towns, and they owned everything, and you paid the company for everything. So the government's kind of like that. It's company town. And a lot of the younger generations are saying, I don't want to do this. I want to go in fact, I just talked with a young couple. She quit her job. It was a very nice job, making good money. They live in Crested Butte, and they want to buy a company from a local business owner. And so we had a conversation about that and what that would entail and how you negotiate and things to look at. And they're in their early 30s. Yeah. So I was like, good for you guys that you're thinking outside of the norm for your generation. I mean, I think that's great. I think that's great.
A lot of positives here.
Yeah.
I'll drop in one other stat on you, Janine, and this is also why I kind of take this with a grain of salt. So a lot of this mentality in this study was because the U.S. Bureau of Economic Analysis said that Americans are saving less in 2023. Oh my God, this is the big concern. Personal savings rate, that portion of a disposable income that sets aside money for savings, was significantly lower at only 3.9% in August of 2023 compared to the 8.5% average of the past decade. And that data goes back to 1959, by the way, and you can go look at that on this article that we'll link to. Well, gee, what's been happening in 2023 that may be causing us to save less, especially young people like Gen Z who may not have the opportunity to, have a lot of excess income to keep their savings up when inflation is
inflation. Yes. Yeah. I
So
mean,
it's
that's,
like billed as this the fault of Gen Z being lazy and soft, as they use some of that verbiage in this article. And it's like, well, you go back and be 25 and have the inflation that we've had and try to save a lot of money. That would be very difficult.
and that's exactly, I mean, we were all there in the 70s. You know, we were in our 20s trying to save and working jobs that didn't pay a lot. But I mean, so it is relative, you know, to that because we've been there. And so we get it. We're not thrilled about it. But you're right. It's a little bit skewed in the article. I think that it's a data point. I don't think it's a trend.
Right.
You know,
Right.
and I think that's the danger that everybody needs to be aware of, is that a lot of these articles, it's a data point, and you're talking, it takes a while to make a trend.
Yeah.
You know, so tell me again what Gen Z's in their
you're
30s.
right. Trend was in the headline. Soft saving trend is emerging.
You know,
When is it really just this like last month or two of data? And is that the trend?
Yeah.
Maybe not. So anyway. There you go. This is a good both sides, right? Both sides of the issue here. Yeah, okay. Gen Z, us young people, we're in that YOLO mindset and FOMO, and let's live it up now. Let's recalibrate. Think a little bit about the future. Older generations who are looking at us and you know, worried for us and laughing at us. You know, maybe pass along some of your wisdom. So if you're in the baby generation and you're thinking about your kids and your grandkids and how they're saving for retirement, share your knowledge, share your experience.
right. And I mean, and it's always, you know, it's always circumstantial. And I mean, these types of articles, you have to be aware of who are they. I mean, how big is the population that they're sampling to write these articles?
Some of these articles, it's like the study talked to 200 people, and now they extrapolate out from that, right?
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, because the younger generations, the millennials that I know, are all pretty motivated.
Yeah,
and there's a lot of entrepreneurs. So it's it's amusing. I mean, I do have a client that's kind of not doing much. And he's like 31 and he should be. And I'm like, dude, you've got 30 years that you need to be working. What's your plan? And he's not doing anything. He's relying on an inheritance, which he's going to run through. So that's not a good thing. Yeah. But, you know, but people have to be open to having the conversation.
Right.
Which is really hard.
But that does seem more like those are individual problems and situations. And that's where, again, you can help somebody if you see them making mistakes like that, try to point them in the right direction. So good discussion. Good argument today.
This is good. This is good.
Hey, if you need financial advice, guidance, you want to talk specifically about retirement planning, that's where you go to talk to Janine Theus. She can help you out there for you and your family, making sure you get to retirement and have a solid financial plan in place. Touch base with her, theuswealthadvisors.com, or call 443-718-6311, and we'll link to that in the description of today's show. Thanks, Janine. Appreciate it.
Information is for illustrative purposes only and does not constitute tax, investment, or legal advice. Always consult with a qualified investment, legal, or tax professional before taking any action.